Hi, and welcome to The Shared Path. I'm Maggie Linton. We open the celebration of Black History Month with one of my favorite people and singers, Deborah Bond. A Connecticut native, now based in Washington, D.C., Deborah jumped into the local music scene that now takes her around the world. She's also served 8 years as D.C. Grammy chapter governor, works as a mentor, voice coach, voiceover, and jingle talent, plus an outstanding addition to one of my favorite UK soul and R&B groups, Incognito. Pleased to welcome Deborah Bond. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi,
It's,
Maggie.
it's so good to see you, girl.
It's good to see you too. Thank you for
Yeah.
having
Hey,
me.
it's truly my pleasure. Let's talk about your beginnings in New Haven, Connecticut,
Right.
because that's where you really got that inspiration just listening to music being played at home.
Music being played at home. I was one of those kids where the radio's always on. I lived with my grandma for a couple of years as a small child, and that was just like an all day thing was the radio. Just even if it was on real low while she was going about her day, I'd hear all the sounds. And being a late 70s baby into the 80s, I got some good stuff in my ears as a young person. I was hearing everything from Parliament Funkadelic from my uncles who loved P-Funk and all that good stuff to Minnie Riperton and Michael Jackson and then Whitney Houston and Madonna and Prince and just all kinds of stuff. So I was just soaking it in, as a kid. And immediately, probably from the time I can remember, I just was in awe of music, just all in my memory for it, the way I would listen and retain it, even the thoughts I would have about music, like analyzing it, were very intense and very pronounced, very young. So I'm glad I made it. I was in the 70s. I'm glad I was born into the 70s because that was to me one of the most pivotal times in music, especially Black music. So but I had it all. I had it all around. And Irene Cara, Donna Summers, Anne Murray, I mean, a spectrum, Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, like everything. And I was just into it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there was so much good music out there. And even here's what I say, you could actually understand what people were singing at that point.
Yeah. And they
And
were
that's
singing
one of the
about some
things.
stuff most of the
Yeah,
time. They
that's
had
one of
some
the things.
messages.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you have really nurtured as you move along. So bravo to you too.
Thank you for
And
that.
then you came on into DC, was going to be a journalism major at AU. What happened, girl?
I already knew when I was when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to really sing and I knew I wanted to perform. That in addition, well, actually it was the trilogy for me. I knew I wanted to sing first. I knew I wanted to write the songs second, and I knew I wanted to perform those songs. I knew it from probably 5 years old. And so that was always lingering in the background. But I was also, especially in like high school, I was really into debating law. I thought I was even maybe going to go into law school. And the next thing I figured out I was really into, because I enjoyed writing, I started writing songs at about 10 years old. I started writing poems. And I also was in a time in my life as a kid when I was um, my first performances were oration contests. They were not singing. I was doing public speaking and studying speeches from everyone from Martin Luther King to poems by the last poets. And I was just reciting poems. I was hearing stories. I was taking that in, and I knew there was this aspect of storytelling that was really important to me through singing. But I also really enjoyed hearing stories through journalism. I really enjoyed listening to interviews as a younger person. And by the time I was in high school, I through even doing debate teams and things like that, I was learning about what's your side of the story. There was always something with a story. And so by the time I was in high school, I was really into some of the big, early 90s television like Dateline and 2020, and I loved Barbara Walters, and I just was really enamored with being a part of the news or being a part of a story and telling the story and learning about someone's journey. And that's what really kept the journalism light inside of me. And also my mom, kudos to my mama. My mama was like, okay, now the music business is not an easy business. I think, what else are you into? Because I don't know if you want to fully put, all of your effort into singing. So that was pretty much the next thing in line, was to study broadcasting, and television, interviewing, creating packages and stories. But by the time I was like a junior in college, I mean, the music bug was in me. I moved to DC, and it's like Chocolate City. There's go-go music that I'd never really been exposed to. There's all these bands that are just jamming around town. There's what we know as Black Broadway, U Street Corridor, with all the different clubs and places where you could do spoken word. That was a big thing. And you could sing neo soul. And so it kind of like pulled on me a little more so than the journalism. And both fields, I'm sure, as we both know, are very tough in the beginning. You
Right.
have to, you have to work your way up. So to me, my argument to my mom is like, listen, as a starting journalist, I'm gonna end up in some news station like in the middle of Omaha or something, and I'm gonna probably have to struggle just as much as I would struggle as a budding artist. It's just a different discipline. My heart is in singing, my heart is in the writing. So once I was done with school, it was like, I gotta kind of kick it up a notch with the music thing. I'm in the perfect place and I'm around really good musicians and people. Why don't I just get out there and meet folks and network and see if I can find a band, and that was how the journey really started, was leaving school and just deciding that I wanted a band. I didn't want to be this like pop R&B singer that sung with the tracks and the beats in the background. I wanted a band. I was really influenced by everything from like Sly and the Family Stone to the Jets to Sade. They were all bands. They were a group. You could pick out members. You could see their faces. You knew what role they played in the band. So I was really trying to have that happen, and I was on a mission, and that's how it got started.
I say mission accomplished
Hey,
because
I agree.
you always have the best backup bands.
Thank
And I
you.
mean it's never just kind of somebody maybe picking them off the streets. They are solid, they are good, and you showcase your musicians too. That's the
Yes,
other thing that's so beautiful. So I
very
think the last
important.
time I saw you was at Blues Alley here in
Yeah,
DC, but
yeah,
you have played around the world.
yes,
But
indeed.
we have to talk about our beginning with
Yes,
friendship, which began at Sirius XM. You learned
that's
a lot
right.
about production there, didn't you?
So much, it on many, many levels. Everything from just understanding that when you produce any type of broadcasting, any type of, a display event, you have to have so many, just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and
Mm.
everything down from making sure you have proper metadata for an album, or making sure that the artist is comfortable, making sure that and it's what's been beautiful about it is that I've played both roles while I was in that space. So it helped me understand, okay, I'm an artist. I just woke up. I'm heading to an interview. Oh, I hope there's some tea. Things like that I'm thinking when I flipped into production and radio and that world, I had those things in mind, but I also just learned about like how intense live broadcasting is, like how just meticulous it has to be, how much time and effort is put in and all the different working parts. There's not just one person pressing a button and there we go. There's so many players that are, it's a big ship with lots of folks helping keep it afloat. And I'm very, really, really, really grateful for the experience, and for like, so I mean, I had quite a few opportunities that just dropped in my lap from being in the environment, and also being very open about what I'm interested in doing and learning. And I was able to see things and speak to people and learn things that I like only had dreamed of. So it was such an experience for me. And still to this day, I'm just continuously recalling things I've learned, connecting with my friends. I made long-lasting friends there as well. Seriously, made really beautiful connections with people. I found mentors. I became mentor. It's so many different layers, and I worked my tail off.
Honey, we all did, because
Hello.
that was that time when we could do so much. And then if you said, I want to do it, they'd say, okay, why not? And
Why not?
then
Yes.
the climate changed, and you said, I'm going to make music my number one priority.
I
And I'll
had to.
never forget when you brought me that beautiful CD with you on the front, Madam Palindrome. I said,
Yeah.
okay, my girl's ready to roll. And you
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was time. I spent a good, little, like 9.5 years there, and I was juggling too. That was a big part of it. Was I
You
was
were.
I was juggling two different lives, major sets of responsibilities in both worlds, and one body and 24 hours in a day. And so traveling, I was just telling someone just like literally 2 days ago, no, yesterday actually, I was thinking to myself, wow, I would be rushing to work right now. I had a big show a few nights before, and I was just thinking the next day I would have had to shake all of that energy off from an intense almost 2 hour performance of me singing lead, getting to sleep pretty late. I would have been at the desk trying to be alert, trying to focus on the tasks at hand. And I just felt so thankful to now have transitioned into a place where I work when I work, I breathe when I breathe. I'm my own boss, which is really hard. But it's just
But you've
it
been
is a
prepared
dream
for
come
it.
true. It's a dream come true. It
Yeah.
is to say that I'm kind of just living the life that I had been thinking about when I was a little girl. Even though it's not easy, it's still a dream come true. Yeah.
Let's talk about it, because I think you were, of course, very, very popular in the DC area. Because if there was a venue, you were working it.
Yes.
Kennedy Center, the
Yes.
930 Club, Blues Alley,
Yes.
the Warner Theater, wherever.
Yes.
If it had music, you were there.
And let's
But
talk
at this,
about that's in the good day. It was also teeny little ratty clubs that nobody ever heard of, where I had to change my
music
clothes in the
festivals.
bathroom. You know what I mean? I was
Mhm.
I was willing from the start till now to, if you were willing to hear me, if you're willing to take the band and myself and let us jam for you, we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna be the diva. And so I was working the small rooms with maybe sometimes 20 people in the audience, 10 people in the audience. I've done shows where I literally could count 3 people in the audience. And then next thing you know, here comes Kennedy Centers and 930 Club and Howard Theater. And however many's there, I'm going to still give my 100%. And now I'm reaching for, Constitution Halls and Apollo and some of the bigger theaters. I'm praying for that to be the next wave for me one of these days.
And in between, you got hot in Europe with Incognito. Let's talk about Dubai. I
Mm,
mean, you
mm,
you
mm.
really just kept on rolling, and in a sense, dreams coming true.
Yeah,
But
really, really
doors
true.
kept opening.
Yes, yes. It was like soon as I set the intention and began to believe it and speak it. I mean, it was 2016 was really a magical, divine year because uh well, I have to actually say it's 2015 because the summer of 2015 is when I started to make some mental decisions about what I wanted to do with my career and the next phase of my livelihood. And I was really at my wits' end with balancing the work and the music. And I decided to like state my intentions out loud, like meditatively, like just meditating and speaking, kind of almost chanting what I believe will be if I just take the next step. And I kept saying something very specific, that my voice was going to take me all over the world. I may not have the money, but my voice is going to get me in places. The spirit knows that I love to sing and I love to see the world. I'm going to make them happen together. I would say that. And then the end of 2015, I said goodbye to my day job life. And I immediately got offers to go to Jazz at Lincoln Center in Doha, Qatar, a world tour with Incognito, and then a second invitation to Qatar for a summer. So I spent the end of 2015. I mean, the moment 2 weeks after I left my day job, I was going to Doha for a month residency, come back for 2 months, get a call from Bluey from Incognito. It says, we're going on a world tour this fall. Do you think you want to join us? Then
Hello.
I
Yes.
I get a call from Doha and they say, we loved you so much this winter. Can you come back for the whole summer? So it was like the summer, soon as the summer's done, here comes the fall with Incognito, Australia, Japan, Hawaii, the whole USA. It's just my mind. That year is just like what I said was going to happen, that I was going to be all, I think I maybe hit, I don't know how many countries in that year. I was in so many countries in 2016. It felt very magical. It felt very, very magical and very divine. And it felt like it was very purpose driven because I was so afraid to leave. And then, you know, thankfully Bluey, just from Incognito, bless his heart, he took a chance on me and believed in me and said, you know, you've never toured with us, never a major tour, and we think you can do it. And it was mind-blowing. It was one of the best experiences of my life. One of the most grueling, because I also never had been on a tour with a band, like a real serious tour. It was my very first time.
Real
And it was
serious band.
real serious band that don't play around. That will
No.
say, here's your songs, study them, learn them. And then because you're in America and all of us are in the UK, more than likely when we see you, it'll be the day of the show. You're going to get on stage and you're just going to sing it cold, no rehearsal. That's a scary thing to do. And I've done it now with Incognito. I remember singing Deep Waters, their biggest hit, as a substitute for Mesa with no rehearsal. I never rehearsed it. They just played the song. They said, did you learn the song? I said, I learned the song. And
one of my absolute favorites of theirs.
I would listen to their music and just dream about what it would be like to even know them. Mesa, I mean, she is my girl. Like, I mean, she's just so sweet and down home, and that golden, warm, buttery voice that she has. I was just like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Like, and I had a song with them by that point. I'd written a song and recorded a song with Incognito on a record. Now there's a song that says featuring Deborah Bond that I wrote. That was just magic time. That was just like magical, magical, magical time. And it's been such a wave.
Aren't all careers that way? You know, you have your highs. You think about people that we see, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what happened to them?
Where'd they go?
You know, yeah, where'd they go? But
Yeah.
It's not like you're not still working, because now you do jingles, you do teaching, you do mentoring, you're out there working as an educator, you're constantly giving back.
Yes.
In order to help others to, you know, say, come on this path with me.
Come on this path with me. That is literally like, I love for folks to feel like they're not walking the path alone. I literally just had that conversation with a friend recently because she had an interview and said some really beautiful things about me. She said a quote that I just felt like it made me cry. She said, Deborah is one of the most generous art creatives on the scene right now. And I was telling her that doesn't even feel like I'm being generous. I'm just being myself. I just don't want people to feel like they're walking alone. And because sometimes in all of our career paths and all of our endeavors and hopes and passions and dreams, we can get to these parts of the road where it's like, I don't know where to go. I'm by myself out here. No one understands like this, and I just feel like, you know what, there's someone who understands. There's at least one human being in this world who's walking with you. You don't even know it. And so mentoring is really big with me, inspiring people to not give up and to dream and to also be wise and professional and intelligent about their choices and things like that. So I that stuff really is like kind of where my joy comes from, like really just being able to say, okay, would you like to join me for my sound check? Do you know what a sound check is like? Have you, and it's a new artist who may have not had their own show yet, and they're just curious and they want to learn. And you know what? I'm not above anyone. We're human. So come on, I'll sneak you in the back and come check the show out and take a look at the sound check and see how the miking is working and look at what the sound and learn. And it's also something I wanted in my younger age. Like if I would have had a mentor around 15 to 25, who knows where I would be. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. But I know for me, I want to have that space in someone's story one day that I helped them, or that I, was giving in some kind of way that helped them get to a better place in life. Even if it
Speaking
just
of
means
your right. Speaking
yeah.
of your giving, though, you go back home at least once a year
Mm-hmm.
and do fundraising in a
Yes.
very special way for a very special woman. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
I do several kinds of fundraising actually.
Hmm.
I've years ago I was involved with like Special Olympics and things of that nature. My older sister has Down syndrome, and so I'm really big on making sure that I can be around special needs families, special needs kids, and because she's still a part of our lives, and she's definitely it's been a lot, and it takes very special people and patient people, compassionate people to really walk that journey with someone that has special needs, especially someone that has like severe Down syndrome, which is what my sister has. So I've done things through Special Olympics. I've done things through the Boys and Girls Club of America. Um, there's also a lot of people don't know this, but New Haven is pretty high in gun violence. It's very
Place in
surprising.
America isn't,
You know what I
Deborah. It's
mean?
crazy, isn't
It's
it?
it's really crazy. When I moved to
Hmm.
DC in the 90s, it was pretty bad. We were the top 10 most dangerous cities in America. And I lost family to gun violence suddenly, just awfully. And I've seen a lot of people around me that I love lose people to gun violence, or lose people to being in prison for dealing with guns. And so I've been a part of some organizations with Gun Violence New Haven, and just anytime I can get back to New Haven and let folks know that, like, I'm out here, I'm in DC, but I'm always going to let the world know I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. I'm also going to let people know, just like many places around the world that you may not hear about on the news, or sometimes, we would always hear about very specific cities that they would be kind of labeled as like Detroit and New York,
Chicago.
but they don't talk about New Havens and some of those little
Hmm.
small cities that are having a lot of problems. And so I'm representing my community and trying to be a voice for my community as far as like the many things that are going on. So anytime I can get back, I'm trying to get back and fundraise and support and perform, or even do master classes and speak to schools. Any of that, I'm there.
Let's talk about your work with the Grammys,
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's something very special.
yes,
8 terms. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. You
yeah,
have been busy. And
yeah,
kind of explain to our listeners what that's about, because I don't think people understand exactly how that works for getting
yeah.
folks their Grammys. And
Yes,
you have really supported, introduced a lot of folks from the DC area to the rest
yes.
of the world.
That's very true. That's very true. I love being a part of the organization, also known as NARIS. And with Grammy in the country, every major city that you can really think of has what's called a chapter, a Grammy chapter, and it's basically a community in that city of creatives, artists, producers, engineers, lawyers, publicists. Um, and you do have to go through a process to join each chapter. There's one in Memphis, there's one in DC, New York City, Nashville, LA. They're all over Atlanta, all over the country. And Basically, there's a bit of criteria. You know, you have to basically show that you are serious about what you're doing, that this is not like, oh, I like to sing in the shower and I want to go to the Grammys. You know, it's more so like you have to show that you're a professional to a pretty high degree. And once you're in the chapter, you are invited to all types of really cool networking events, panel discussions, just mixers, things where you're hearing people talk about how to get your music licensed for movies, discussions on how more female engineers that are taking over the music scene, all kinds of just learning and networking opportunities are all throughout each chapter. It really is what you make it. If you join a chapter and you're hungry and you're like really, you know, wanting to get the most of it, you'll go to these events. They send you an email, RSVP, check it out or not. There's the next level is if you want to vote, on who can actually be nominated or who can win, and then you apply to become a voting member. It's a certain type of status to be a voting member. And once you're a voting member, you get a ballot every year. And it's crazy because you see all the names, you see the way each round is how it works, where you get a first round of all these artists in all of these categories. You put in your vote, send it on in. And then the next thing you know, I think there's 2 rounds of voting, and then there's the announcement of the actual Grammy nominees. And once those announcements are made, you get another ballot and you get to vote on a couple of categories that are your expertise, your categories of expertise, not just every category. So if I'm not really in the world of country, I'm not voting on country, which I think is really beautiful, because we stay in our lanes and what we know, the music that we know. And then of course you get an invitation to go to the Grammys. And then
Isn't too shabby either.
That's not too shabby either.
Yeah, I've been there.
There's a special group of people in every chapter, the board of directors, the board of governors, who come together in acts of service to really just make the best of the Grammy chapter, to come up with programs for the particular chapter, to rally for artists' rights. I've been on the Capitol Hill quite a bit advocating for royalty changes and royalty rights and certain bills to be changed. We get together and we discuss those things. That's the Board of Governors. I've been a governor 7 times, and I've also been secretary of the board once. So that's when it gets really interesting. And really quiet. Can't talk much about what happens in the boardroom, but
you're advocating for not just yourself, you're advocating for everyone that's involved.
Or artists.
Again, another way, in a sense, of mentoring and opening the door for people to make sure it's done right.
Done right, and then people feel like they are heard. One of the things about Grammys that no one ever talks about as much, because it's not the glamour side of it that is really important to me, is that they have these pillars that they stand on. Advocacy, which deals with, you know, just getting our royalties and things of that nature. But one of the major pillars is what's called Music Cares. And Music Cares is really focused on the health of the artist. And they have all types of services as members that are open to you, whether if you need to get some dental checked out, you need to get your ears looked at, because people don't realize these things are major with us as artists. People lose their hearing, you know, performing. And so there's opportunities to get your ears checked, your throat checked, there's mental health professionals that are available to talk to you about the pressures of the music business, which I don't think gets enough spotlight, honestly, because this is a serious business and it's not one for everyone. And so Music Cares to me is just one of the best parts of the organization that they offer to us members, because as you get deeper into the business, it does get quite ruling on your physical health and your mental health. So there's, you know, for me, I'm going to try to bring new members in. I've been on the committees for membership. That's one of my big ones, because I want to get people in and help them see all of the things that they can really benefit from and take advantage of being a member of their chapter. And it's been a great role, because like you said, I really look forward to introducing new people to that world and showing them how many positive things can come from being a member of a chapter. I've been to the Grammys now 6-7 times. So that's like
Always a
second
good time, isn't it?
It's a good
Always
time.
a good time.
It's a really good time. But
Yeah.
I really do enjoy the intimate spaces and the events. I just got to see Adam Blackstone, talk about being a music director. I love this guy. He's everywhere these days. That's all through the chapter, so it's been great.
We have to talk about your beautiful YouTube video. It's like a mini movie, and it's called Time. And it is truly a nod to Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
Talk about putting that together, because folks, I'm telling you, if you have not seen it, go to YouTube, look up Deborah Bond. It's spelled like Deborah, but it is Deborah Bond, and look at Time. It is fabulous.
Thank you very much. I have to shout out the director T.L. Benton, because it was really his vision. And that song is very, very close to my heart, because I wrote it during the pandemic, and I wrote it when I had a lot of time on my hands, and I wrote it about growing older, aging in the industry, figuring out where I belong in the world. And I wanted the visual for that song to kind of lend to time travel, almost like moving in an old time and in a new time. And it was really TL. I have to shout out TL of Mecca Filmworks. He's been doing a lot of work lately with Mr. Robert Glasper. And TL, he said, I told him a lot about myself when giving him the thought behind the visuals. And I told him that I'm a really wild and crazy girl. I have good habits and I have bad habits. I'm feeling old in the industry, but I'm feeling like I got all this energy. I'm feeling all kinds of things. I gave him a whole background. And I said, I want this video to not be a traditional music video. He did my very first video for this last record, the latest album, Compass. He did my first release video, which was Radio, which is more of a performative video with a few specks of drama embedded in there. I told him, I was like, I need there to be some kind of a dark element, because there was a little bit of the mood of Compass. And I don't want to necessarily be myself. And so he was the one that said, I think you should be a jazz singer. I think we should find a club. And I think, you should be, you say you're wild and you're a little crazy. Who brings, like, who would you lend that to if you were acting? And like, who would? And so I immediately thought of two people. I thought of Billie Holiday. The second person I'm not going to name, but she's a prominent R&B singer that I've performed with from time to time, who is wild. And she can be quite crazy to perform with on stage. And so I said, okay, if this more current artist that I've worked with who is crazy was blended with a little bit of Billie, what would that be like if it was in Deborah? And so I got the dress and I said, yeah, I should put a little flower in my hair and just go on a trip. go on a trip. And it was all improv. It was all, I didn't have a serious script. So a lot of it was just improv. The guys, kudos to my band, who was also, they were not actors, and they were awesome. Like, they were so awesome, and they had so much fun. And also kudos to Michael Yeye, who was a production assistant on the set, who ended up being my favorite character, whose name was Lippy. So he was really doing two roles. He's behind the camera and then he's in front of the camera. And we just had a ball. I had a ball just being kind of loose and wild, and with my martini and my cigarette. And, there were so many funny outtakes because it was hard to keep a straight face. But the guys and the directors, especially, they were like, okay, you're a little bit natural at acting. Like, you should think about this a little more often. I didn't, I was just having fun, but it was a really good time. And it definitely was a nod to Billie Holiday and just a certain era, and a certain look, even a certain aesthetic. And it was really fun to do it in a club that features jazz. So I have to give a shout out to Todd Barkin of Keystone Corner Jazz Club in Baltimore, where we filmed it. So it was a long, fun day. And it was my very first, basically, music video movie. TL was like, I think I want to make a little short movie. Are you okay with that? And I'm like, that's yet again a dream come true. Because I grew up remembering sitting in front of the television waiting for Michael Jackson's movie music video. And here I am. I have one of my own. So that's gonna be a very special video for me all of my life. The hilarious thing, Maggie, is that we're in a time where everything is fast moving, reels, minute long, 30-second videos and clips. And so I really didn't feel like that video was like actually absorbed because it's a longer video. I feel like it went over a lot of people's heads. It did. I still think it's like if you can just give yourself 4 or 5, however many minutes it is, or 6, 7 minutes to watch it. It's a lot of fun. It's really creative. Yes. But during the time when it was released, it was like, oh, this is too long. Give me a 30-second clip. So I appreciate that you watched the entire thing and
watched the entire thing. Great acting, great clothing.
Thank you.
That was, I mean, the clothing was fabulous for the men and for you.
Thank you.
The other thing I think that people have to take away from it. That's the reason why I kind of waited to do my podcast, because everybody was saying, oh, it can't go longer than 5 minutes because people don't want to. And I said, I've always done long form.
Yeah.
And I want people to talk until I know that we're done.
Yeah.
And we can't be done until we talk about your latest release. It is Compass One. Come on, talk about it.
Compass One. Oh, Compass. What a time with that one. That one, like we were talking about the roller coaster and the dips and the ups and the downs. That one really came from a bit more of a somber place in my life, a moodier space for me. 2016, I said 2016 was magical. 2016 was also a big, I really believe it was the beginning of a very new journey and a very important journey for me personally. I had been in a very long-term relationship, 14 years. At the top of 2016, we called it quits. Was very sad. It wasn't very angry. It was more like just growing apart. And it was just, this was a person in my band. This was a person that I did music with and that produced me, that, I had to let go of because of the breakup. And so as 2016 was like all this travel and all this magic, there was also a complete other side that was a little bit more quiet. That was mourning, that was a loss of a relationship, someone that I thought was going to be my husband, And so 2016 had this duality of like extreme happiness and extreme sadness. And 2017 moved pretty cool. Trump came into office. The climate of the world started to get even more interesting. And 2018 comes around. And by 2018, I think it had been 7 years since I released any music. And myself and 2/3 of my band, because I lost 1/3 in the breakup, we decided we were going to try to press on, even though this breakup kind of stunted the band. We're going to try to make some new music. And we were not getting it done. We were not making music. I was getting really scared because I had also quit my job. So now I'm living off of music and the gigs are slowing down. The tour was done for 2016. The offers were not coming in. And I was feeling very lost. I was feeling extremely lost. Like I was just trying to figure out, what am I going to do and how am I going to eat and how am I going to live and am I ever going to fall in love again, and am I, is what's happening in America? There was all this stuff between like 2017, 2018, 2019. By 2019, I was really not doing well career-wise. In my opinion, I was not making much money. I was taking any kind of performance I could. I was kind of going back to the beginning. I was like singing in bars and places where no one was listening. I wasn't in listening rooms. And I was feeling it. I was really, really feeling it and getting extremely frustrated. And I had a really tough discussion with 2 of people I really love that were my longtime bandmates. Just like I had the 15-year relationship, I had a 15-year relationship with them in a band. And I told them that I needed to find a new production team, that I needed to take a break from creating with them because we weren't really making any for emotion, and I needed to figure out how I was going to live. I was the only one doing it full time. And that was the end of 2019. And it was a really tough discussion because these are people I really love and that they set my career off. We were in this band journey together, but they understood. And, you know, I have, my name is on the record, so I've got to figure out what am I going to do for myself. And that happened in December 2019. And 3 months later, we were in quarantine and everything changed. And I had a lot of time on my hands. I also had government money. I had stimulus checks. I wasn't making much money in 2019. And then all of a sudden, when the pandemic started to happen, the pandemic came, you know, we had some relief for artists was being offered, little sprinkles of change around. And I was also getting little sprinkles of advice from people that I love and that knew that I was in a frustrated musical space and a frustrated life space. And they said, Deborah, you've got to put out some new music. It's been almost 10 years. If you put out some new music and you put your heart into it, watch, your career's going to go right. It's going to pick back up. Everyone was saying this to me. And I said, well, you know what? I don't have nothing but time on my hands. I'm going to get a new MacBook. I'm going to get a new, I knew all this production stuff from radio. I said, oh, I got to get a new interface. I'm going to get a new microphone. I'm going to get some monitors and some speakers. I'm going to invest in a home studio. I'm going to kick it up a notch
and invest in you.
Invest in me. And I really did, because I got everything I needed. I had the experience of recording through radio and through my background. And so I set up, literally, I could reach it right here. Here's the mic. I have a little small workstation in this corner. And starting in April of 2020, I just started writing words and writing my feelings and writing my thoughts. And I started reaching out to producers, some that I've known for years, some that are new in my life. Do you have any tracks? Do you have any music that I could write to? I'm trying to work on a new album. Some people turned me down, actually. Some people I really admire turned me down at that time. I went to wherever the love was. I got some folks that said, I got a track for you. I hear the beat. I hear this rhythm for time. I hear that groove. And I start thinking about that boom, 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 boom. When the bass is boom, it makes me think of like a heartbeat or a clock, like a countdown. So I'm thinking about time and writing about my life. And literally midway through, I said, okay, this is definitely going to be called Compass, because I'm trying to find my way. And this is going to probably be something that I'm going to have these moments more than once in my life. So I'm going to call this just volume 1, because who knows when we all come through moments where we're needing direction. And so this will be volume 1. Let's see what this is going to be. Go where the music leads me, go where my spirit leads me, and tell my stories. And I wrote that album within 5 months. I've never done that in my life.
Wow.
I usually take a couple of years or 1 or 2 at least. Wrote it in 5 months, sat here, had my bass player who produced Time, just moved to DC from Richmond. He happened to move right up the block, and we were quarantined. We felt safe to be in each other's bubble. Like, you know, at that time, no one who's in your bubble, he would come by. He would kind of help engineer me. I would literally sit right where I'm sitting right now and just sing them songs. Sometimes it'd be 3 a.m. Sometimes it'd be the middle of the afternoon, whenever I can get it quiet, you know, because we're in our homes. I sent the music to some of the most amazing musicians who were also stuck at home. And I said, would you mind? Can you record at a home? Do you have a home studio? Can you lay down some violin, Chelsea Green in Boston? Can you lay down some drums, Nate Smith in Nashville? Can you lay down some drums, Corey in Baltimore? And everyone from wherever they were contributed from their home studios. You would never think when you listen to that album that we weren't together.
You are correct. It is unbelievable.
We're all at home. We were all at home, mixed it at home, sent it off to Richmond to get it mixed and mastered and cleaned up. And next thing I knew, by November, that's all in 1 year. April, by November, I had the record done, had the artwork done. I commissioned illustrators from all over the East Coast I said I would reach out to people. I love the way you draw. If I give you a song, can you draw what it makes you feel? So inside the book are these beautiful portraits, hand-drawn, all very different, very abstract, some very, very direct. I had a blast creating it, and just like, but I was petrified at the same time because it was 10 years since my last album, new band, not my comfort zone of my three guys that were known as Third Logic back in the day. I was like, are people gonna even like this album? Are they gonna think it's I just was so nervous about it, but I stood firm on it because I had created an entire brand for it. I had created teasers at home, filmed teasers. I had created a certain look, even in my videos. That's why there's black and white. There's this mixture of color and black and white. I said I didn't want much color because I didn't feel bright. I didn't feel that happy. I felt a bit more gray and in between. All of that was curated while I was home. And as scared as I was, I have to thank a lot of the people that I shared it with during the pandemic who encouraged me to release it, and also to Bluey from Incognito, because he heard it and said, first of all, you telling me this is a little album? Because I said, oh, I just got this little album. I'm just going to put it out. I'm not going to even talk much about it. I'm just going to put it out. And he said, let me put it on my label. Let me release it on my label. I want to support this album. He heard Time. And he fell in love with Time, and he fell in love with Stride. And he said, I got it. You let me support this record. And they gave me a deal, and I put it out on Splash Blue Records, which is the UK. Bluey's 1/3 of the team for that. And everything's been going up. I was really. Of
course it has. Because it's great music, Deborah. It really is great music.
Thank you.
I just looked at the time. I go, oh, we probably ought to wrap this up, because you and I could talk forever.
Yes,
and I'm not going to bring up us doing. Remember, you came in studio and there was what was it? Sweet Lou and Matthew Shaw, and we were trying to do. And I had some champagne and a couple other things in the studio. When we were trying to sing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" or something like that, and we could not finish it. All of us started laughing because we realized we had the chorus.
I forgot about that, Maggie. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we can talk, and don't give us any little champagne. Such a good time.
Always a good time with you.
Yes.
As we wrap up, what you've talked about today is so hopeful, not losing your support of yourself and making good contacts and things like that.
Yeah.
But what do you want to leave with our listeners?
Pray for purpose. Pray for purpose, because I feel like when you start to tap into, and that's just a life hack, in my opinion, not whether it comes to music, whether it comes to if you want to be a surgeon, whatever it is, just ask the universe to show you your purpose, because once you start to move with that fully at the forefront of your intentions, you will be shocked at what can be given to you, what path you'll be on, where you'll go, who will be there with you. Many things that seem so out of reach are just a moment away. They're just a moment away. But it does, in my heart, start with a purpose. Like, you have to know that you have to understand deeply why you want what you want and where it comes from and where that passion really is embedded in you. Why? What is your purpose? Why am I here? Why are we on the shared path? Because this is a part of your purpose. So when you go in that direction, when you act with those type of thoughts, the world is yours and the sky is the limit, and you can get through many things you probably never thought you would. So dig into your purpose and your passion in any aspect of life. You'll be all right.
I'm a firm believer, if you don't ask, you cannot receive.
That's true indeed. Indeed. Yeah, true indeed.
All right, folks. Many thanks to Deborah Bond. Lots more, including
Maggie.
Her latest release, Compass One, and touring schedule. Check out her website, deborahbond.com. Until next time, seek peace and spread lots of love. I'm Maggie Linton.